Welcome to Rouse Fly Box. Today we're going to tie the Mohair Nymph. Mohair Nymph for me is a search pattern. It's primarily a fall pattern for me. And let's go over how I tie it. I start off with a size 12 caddis emerger hook and a copper tungsten bead. We're going to start off with your first material. I use 15/0 lead substitute wire, 10 wraps. This is a dredging pattern and a deep pattern for me. And you're going to seat that lead up behind the bead, keep in place. And then you're going to start your thread behind, build a dam, keep it in place, and wrap back to about the midway point of the shank. This time you're going to tie in your body material. I use brown Canadian Mohair. The Canadian Mohair brand for me has a little bit of a holographic color to it. It's not a deep brown, and it has a completely different reflective value than most mohairs. I trim the edges. It's a directional pattern, so I sweep the fibers in the direction that they naturally lay and then trim an even butt. We're going to tie that in right behind the lead. This material has a very buggy appearance normally. Use it for mohair leeches. For that reason, a lot of movement in the water. You'll find here that I tie the pattern and then I trim the initial flyers. I bring that back about 50% of the way back into the bend of the hook. Then I bring my thread back up to the lead. As I was saying, I trim the majority of the flyers when I first tie this fly. As you fish it, it does pick out, and you can pick it out further later, but I choose to not do that when I first tie the pattern. And then next you're going to sweep your fibers to the rear and just give like one twist. You don't want to twist this to a rope. You just want to capture the fibers so that they don't necessarily all instantly spread out. And you're going to bring that body material up to the point of your lead. And that's where you're going to tie off. And this is a slippery material, so give a few security wraps, keep it in place. Next, you're going to tie in a section of wild turkey tail tip. You can choose the black section. That's what you want. And I choose a sizable section, probably about 1/4 inch in width. I want it to be sizable. And you're going to tie that in right at the point of the thorax. Then I like to come forward and trim off just a little bit of the butts. I don't want to crowd too much because you're going to have a lot of material there. I bring my mohair then to the rear to line up with the thorax. And lash it all down and bring your thread to the bead. At this point, you're going to give just one little soft twist again, for the same reason, to capture some of your hair. Make sure you sweep it. And you're going to continue your thorax, and you're going to try and form. If you tie it right, you're going to get a little bit of a taper. Don't build it up real thick to the rear. Bring it right behind the bead. A few security wraps. And you see that it gives you a little bit of a tapered thorax. You know, taper towards the bead a little bit. Next, you're going to tie in white goose biot. You tie it in with the curve towards the hook. You're going to extend it to where the tips are to about the end of the bend of the hook, to the end of the shank. And you tie it in on the side. Tie in the other side in the same fashion. They're a little long. Pull them forward and wrap them down. And then next, trim off the butts as close as you can. And give a couple extra wraps. Next, you're going to pull your wing case forward. I sweep it pretty tight together to avoid having the fibers separate. If they do separate slightly, that's not that big of a deal. Pull them fairly tight and wrap down behind the bead. And then trim the butts. And build your head. Make sure you lash down all those materials. And then next you're going to whip finish. And your last step is you're going to apply bug bond to the wing case. Now I make sure that I get as much of the hair fibers as I can trimmed off away from the wing case. I do this because you don't want to trap it in the bug bond. And I apply a sizable drop. Extend it up to the bead. Make sure I extend it all the way. Cover all of the wing case. And then hit it with your light. Now you notice it's already buggy. The material will start to provide you with what Mohair does best, action. I like to come underneath initially, and I'll trim this off underneath, even with about the bend of the hook or the point of the hook, and then I'll come around the other side Careful not to cut off your biots. I've done that before, and that will make you angry. And there it is, the Mohair Nymph. Excellent search pattern, easy to tie, very durable material for the body. It'll fish slender, and it will fish extremely well when it picks out. At times I've picked the material out so it sweeps back like a trailing shuck, and it is done extremely well. Not always, but it is a tactic that I use if I'm getting refusals on this fly, or rolls and no takes. I will pick out the mohair, strip it to the rear so it has a trailing shuck attached to it, and continue to fish, and a lot of times that does the trick. The Mohair Nymph. Excellent search pattern, excellent fall pattern. I hope it adds to your box as well. Thank you.